Manchester United fans, you knew it was coming and it's coming now. Bit of a roller coaster for you at Wembley in your FA Cup semi-final against Championship Coventry City. 3-0 up, 3-3. An extra time goal ruled out by VAR, and it was a goal for Coventry that was ruled out, and then a penalty shootout which Manchester United won. Are they ever going to become more than just a team of moments? Ten Hag was asked whether or not, in the eyes of some, this win was actually somewhat embarrassing.
No, I don't. I can't see that word, because at the end of the day, it's about the achievement. I see the mistakes we make. We can't look away from it, but it's not an embarrassment. It's, as I say, it's a huge achievement. So even a big team from United, from a decade ago, they only achieved the final 3 times. We now 2 times in 2 years. So that's a good performance. And that, with all the setbacks we have in this season, we will take energy from this. And we go in the last weeks, and we have to build the confidence to take advantage from this as well.
I mean, in the eyes of some, Graeme, you wouldn't know they'd reached a cup final by his demeanour there. But he's right, we'll take energy for it. Embarrassing to who? Who's embarrassed by it?
They were expected to win the first half. They were fabulous. They got away with one. I mean, I when they scored the third goal, I flipped over and started to watch Liverpool and Fulham. And then I got a text from Steve Perman, old Spurs player, used to play in the same youth team as him.
Yeah.
And he says, "Are you watching this? They've collapsed." And I went, I didn't know what he was referring to. So I've gone to Man United, and then it was 3-3. And then the extra time that I saw the first half, not the second half, an extra time. They were more likely, Coventry. They were keeping the ball better. It was a bit of a basketball match, but they were keeping the ball better. Had some very good chances to have the goal. It was disallowed right at the end. They got away with one yesterday.
Yeah.
But there's no embarrassment in getting to a cup final. You can never play in enough cup finals at Wembley.
I think Graham's spot on with that. Who's embarrassed by it?
Well, look, I mean, I think
they're in a cup final.
That would be a narrative that was put to him, because if he had the stupidity to cop to it, then that would be the headline that Ten Hag suggests that his players are an embarrassment. So he can't come anywhere near that. Their performance at times, as Coventry clawed themselves back into that game, was not befitting of Manchester United and their players. You've got to give a lot of credit to Coventry.
I think you have to be befitting of Man United.
That's what I said.
That's not the first time those players have played like that.
No, fair enough, but notwithstanding, not befitting of Manchester United. They represent Man United.
In the eyes of who? Not befitting to Manchester United?
In the eyes of the standards that you would expect Man United to want to set. You know, you're 3-0 up in a cup semi-final against Championship opposition that deserve to be there, that are ultimately getting blown away for a period of time, that have clawed themselves back in. But the manner in which United were so susceptible to an outcome which was about mental strength, about the resilience and adversity and all the characteristics that you'd like to expect from a Manchester United represented scenario, were not evidence, even to the point where they've stayed in the FA Cup by the width of a toenail. That's what's kept them in the FA Cup. I knew as soon as Coventry's goal was disallowed that United would get through, just simply because of the law of averages, and it's a tragedy that certain players
had to miss before the penalty shootout.
Yeah, not because you could just see the way it was going.
Meg.
No, because you could just see that. You think to yourself, the biggest headline that you're going to get written, and we'd have dined out on it this morning. Can you imagine if Coventry's goal had stood? What would be said this morning?
Yeah.
So I'm of course looking at it from that point of view, thinking this is fun and games.
Victor's the victor.
And then you think this narrative is going to be rewritten because they'll beat them on penalties, which they duly did. But there's nothing about that performance, besides a period of time in the first half where United can take much from it and say, wonderful. Yes, they've gone on a cup run. They've beaten Wigan, they've beaten Newport, they've beaten Nottingham Forest, and the result that stands out.
3 cup finals in 2 years.
Fine, absolutely. And they've won the League Cup, right? And if they play anything vaguely resembling like that against Manchester City, they're going to get smashed into the next life. I suspect they'll be better because the outcome, the event itself will take hold of itself. But there's nothing about Man United and Ten Hag that lends me to the conclusion that they're going to be sitting with the same manager after the season's finished.
I tell you what's scary. I mean, it goes to extra time, 90 minutes extra time. If that is, they're at the bare bones. When you look at, if that is their squad of first team players, as I'm talking, I'm trying to think of who's missing through injury. But you know, the kids coming, the kids that they think are going to be players one day. I mean, the pretty bare bones. When you're talking about Man United, who spent over £1 billion in the last decade, they don't look. It's a big job. Whoever gets that job, if they are going to change. And an enormous job for the recruitment team, an enormous job for the new owner. He must now know he's got an enormous job on his hands.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.